Hello, this is Charles Folkart. On March the 10th, 2017, I want to welcome all of you, especially those new here and those of you who have subscribed to my channel. I want to thank you. And if you have not subscribed already, I would encourage you to at least consider subscribing. We're going to talk today on some important issues. I'm going to do a follow-up video on the fact that my book, Deadbeat Dad, has been removed from both Lulu.com and Amazon.com. I did a video yesterday explaining what had taken place and my correspondence with Amazon. Today, what I'd like to do is go over the legal issues as to why I think my First Amendment right to free speech is being infringed upon. Information of public concern is being withheld because of Lulu's and Amazon's decision to remove my book, Deadbeat Dad, without giving me the benefit to defend myself against the allegations, and not even being able to know who has made those allegations, and probably more importantly, the fact that Amazon and Lulu are not requiring the plaintiff or the accuser of having to prove their case in court and then coming to Amazon and Lulu with a court order demanding that my book be removed because it is in violation of some law. I don't believe I've violated any law, and here again we have a potential case where a female, and I don't know who it was, but let's just assume it's one of the females that I describe in my book that used the legal system against white males to cause them financial harm. So here it is, that same approach of attacking and damaging the potential income of a male is happening again. And Amazon and Lulu are now taking the place of the courts. All this woman or all the accuser has to do is send a letter or have an attorney send a letter to Amazon and Lulu, and my book gets removed. I don't get to defend myself. This is the theme pretty much of my book, Deadbeat Dad. As I mentioned here on the back cover of the book, Deadbeat Dad is the true story of the author's experience within the American legal system after his wife of 23 years filed for divorce and an emotionally disturbed young woman was granted a court-ordered restraining order placed against him. These women used the American legal system to attack the author and led to his being separated from his children and financially unable to meet his child support obligations. He has been labeled a deadbeat dad. This loving and caring father has not been able to communicate with his children during this time. Names have not been changed to expose the guilty. So, back when I was going through the divorce, a young woman falsely accused me of stalking her. I had to retain an attorney. That cost me $2,500 to defend myself against these false allegations. Now this woman, this young woman at that time, had a condition, and it was in the public record it was in the public record that she was paranoid schizophrenic. Her mother told me that. Her parents knew this, and yet they allowed the false allegations against me to be pursued, and it cost me, like I said, $2,500 out of my pocket. We went to the court, and the judge issued the restraining order, which prevented me from living on my project. And so now I couldn't be at my project anymore. I moved out of from where I was developing. I was a real estate developer, developing a fairly substantial real estate development project in my town at the time. And this restraining order, along with all the other stuff that was going on in my life at the time, my divorce and everything that was going on, caused me to move away and no longer be on site at my project. And I don't want to get into that, but it's in the book. The purpose of the book was to explain to other men what can happen to them when they go through a divorce and they're involved in the American legal system. Now that's going to be important here in a minute, and I'm going to get to that here in a moment. And there are other things, there are other people involved in my book that have a play in the American legal system. There was a instructor of the law enforcement program at the local community college who told me right in front of my two younger children, who were 10 and 6 at the time, come out. I was inside of my truck, and he went like this: "Come out, scumbag. Come on, scumbag, get out of the truck and I'll kick your ass." Now this man is 6'5" and 250 pounds. I'm quite a bit shorter than that, and I don't weigh 250 pounds. So he was basically telling me that he was going to commit a crime, assault and battery. And that, I believe, is a criminal offense. And he was doing it right in the presence of my two children that I was coming to pick up for my visitation. I was no longer a dad. And so here I was, not being able to visit with my two adoptive children, which I love very much. I loved them then. I love them now. And my book exposes what these people that are involved in the legal system do, and they get away with it. So my book has a public interest. And I don't want to go into any more detail here, but other than the fact there was a federal bankruptcy judge, which I've mentioned in the past. He said in open court, "I have never, in the 12 years I've been on the bench, given a man back his business over the objection of his ex-wife." So this man, on the federal judge, on the federal bankruptcy court in Santa Rosa, California, took away my wealth and my ability to produce an income just because my wife didn't want me to have that income and that wealth any longer. So he's doing the bidding of a vindictive ex-wife. Now, where in the court, where in the legal system does our legal system give a federal judge the right to take away a man's business? And he's been doing that for 30 years, and he's proud of it. And that's what my book exposes. And that's why it's important that people read this book, and that's why they don't want this book on the internet. They don't want it made available publicly. And I don't know who's made the allegations. It may have been this judge for all I know. I haven't seen the letter. I haven't seen the allegations. I haven't been given a chance to defend myself, and I shouldn't have to do it with Amazon. The accuser should have to go to court and prove its case, and I'm going to go there right now to explain that. So we're here at a blog called Rights of Writers. As you can see, the fellow who writes this, Mark Fowler, he's an attorney in New York with 29 years of experience, and this was back in 2011, so he may have 6 more years experience. I'm going to bring you to his site where he talks about himself. So it's Mark Fowler. He looks like he's a pretty elderly man, perhaps my age, and his practice areas are intellectual property and media law, litigation and dispute resolution. He went to Columbia University. He's got a JD. He went to Brandeis University with a BA. The guy knows what he's talking about. He used to write. So he was a professional editor and writer, and he's appeared on approximately 70 TV and radio talk shows in connection with his published nonfiction books for general audiences, etc. He's a person of authority. Let's go back to his blog. So he asked the question, can you tell your own story? Can you tell your own true story, even if it impinges on the privacy of your lovers, friends, and family? And that's what my book is. It's an unbelievable but true story. So that's the question we have before us now. Can I write a true story, even if it concerns the privacy of people in the story? And that's what the issue is. Amazon and Lulu have censored my book based on, quote, privacy issues. And I'm not going to read all this, but what I want to bring to your attention is right here. Public disclosure of private facts is an aspect of the right of privacy that is actionable in some, but not all states. Where the prerequisites vary somewhat from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, the plaintiff typically must prove, and this is in a court of law, not just with a letter from an attorney to Lulu and Amazon. This is supposed to be done in a court of law, and it was not done in my case. Number one, publicity was given to matters concerning the plaintiff's private life. Yes, the book was published. That is true. The matters made public would be highly offensive to a reasonable person of ordinary sensibilities. Now, that I would say, there's nothing in my book that would be highly offensive to a reasonable person of ordinary sensibilities. So they fail on number 2. So right there, if we were in court, out. They wouldn't even have a case. And that's what bothers me about Amazon and Lulu. These people that are making these allegations, they don't have a case. They're supposed to go to the court and they're supposed to prove to a judge or a jury that what has been done meets these 3 conditions, and they must prove it with evidence, etc. That hasn't taken place. And number 3, the matters publicized were not newsworthy. That is, not of legitimate public interest. I contend that my book, Deadbeat Dad, is of considerable public interest. How's he put it here? Legitimate public interest. This author, an attorney that specializes in this area of law, says the 3rd element is often crucial to the defense of invasion of privacy lawsuits. Fortunately, the mainstream media have had considerable success in persuading courts to find that their disclosures of otherwise private facts are protected because they shed light on important aspects of the human condition, and that's exactly what Deadbeat Dad was meant to do. And it is, and I think, and I've been told, it does it very well. But the courts have also found that even disclosures of private facts about private figures qualify as newsworthy. That is exactly where my book stands, I believe. And it gives some examples here, and a lot of these are much more intimate details. Some of them involve incest and a resulting pregnancy. Some of them involved in alleged potential rape. And my book doesn't get into those kind of details at all. But I want to bring you down here. Ultimately, you can come back here if you're interested in this. I'll leave a link below this video. Ultimately, the court concluded that to allow a cause of action based upon Buher's truthful and undisguised account of her own and her family's experience is inconsistent with the First Amendment. In other words, the court would not allow a cause of action to proceed because the author, in this case a woman, has the First Amendment right to explain and to detail and to publicly make known and to write about her experiences. And there's other cases here. Here's another one, Girl Interrupted. She wrote a memoir about her post-teen life entitled The Camera My Mother Gave Me, in which she recounted in intimate detail in her then live-in boyfriend's alleged abusive response to her refusal to have sex with him when she was suffering from a painful condition. Now that's pretty intimate details. He was not named in the book, blah, blah, blah. And what's important about this is that the court found that she had the right to publicly disclose her personal experiences on important, right here, on important and legitimate issues of public concern. Disclosing Bonami's involvement in those experiences is a necessary incident thereto. And I claim the very exact right. The First Amendment protects my ability to contribute my own personal experience to the public discourse because it's an important and legitimate issue of public concern. Those accusing me, those making these allegations of privacy issues without my being able to defend myself, do not have a leg to stand on. They are preventing the public from understanding how the American legal system actually works in destroying men's lives, as it did in my case. My life completely changed after I was falsely accused by this woman, and the things that were done in cahoots, in collaboration with my ex-wife. And it ended up in my business having to declare bankruptcy, even though it was not bankrupt. And this woman, and I showed in the trial, and I go through it in detail in the book, how this woman was a major part in the bank not renewing my line of credit. She slandered me all over town. And there's a big part of the trial. I actually sued her and her parents in court to get them to leave me alone. And that's a big part of the book. And that's the part that the editor of the mainstream publishing houses wanted me to remove from the book, and I refused. That's a major part of this book. It all ties in together, and that's why I refused to take that aspect of the book out as recommended by the editor. I know my story, and it needed to be told, and I told it, and now you can't buy it. You can't find out how the courts work or how they worked in my case, and they do the same thing to many, many other men. Hundreds of thousands of men in the United States and Australia and other Western countries get the same treatment that we got. Had I been a woman author, I don't believe that they would have taken my book off of their website. I also found another article on Writer's Digest. I used to subscribe to this magazine. I came here looking for answers as to whether perhaps I was in the wrong. I didn't think I was, but I wanted some supporting evidence in my favor, and I found it here. This is a guest post, and it's on this website, and Amy Cook is an attorney who has focused on intellectual property and publishing law issues for more than 20 years. So she's not a rookie. And we don't need to go into a lot of detail because we covered it earlier with the other fellow, Mark, I forget his last name. But this is an attorney, and she says, even if everything you write about someone is completely true, you still need to consider their privacy. She's talking from a woman's perspective. See, it's all about the women anymore, isn't it? Invasion of privacy occurs when you publicly disclose private facts, and the emphasis on not related to public concern. The First Amendment protection, she says right here, that in a case against Girl Interrupted, author Susanna Kaysen and her publisher, Random House, a court said that details revealed in a memoir fell under First Amendment protection as long as they furthered the public interest, setting a sound precedent for other traditionally published memoirists. It also found that a publisher's decision to release the book could alone be proof of public interest. Now you're saying, well, Charles, your book is not being published by a mainstream publisher. Well, this lady, Amy Cook, is it? Yes, Amy Cook, she addresses the issue of self-publishers like myself. She mentions here, we've talked about how courts have found that a, quote, legitimate public interest exists by the mere fact that a traditional publisher selected that book or article to publish. It may be circular reasoning, but there it is. That's exactly what it is. It's circular reasoning. The mainstream traditional publishers don't want to publish my kind of book because their agenda is pro-feminist. They're anti-white male. They're not going to publish my book, and that is the reason, all the more reason, or that is the reason I had to self-publish, number one, and number two, that's all the more reason why my book should be self-published and made available, because the mainstream publishers are not allowing, they are censoring books like I write. They don't want the public to know what's going on. That's all the more reason, and that I should be allowed to publish my book on Lulu and Amazon, and that makes what is being done by the removal of my book all that more egregious. They're preventing the public from learning about a subject of great public interest, especially to the white males out there that go through a divorce and are accused of being a deadbeat dad. And she mentions the takeaways. Be truthful. I was very, very truthful. And people have said, boy, you really revealed a lot of personal things. Yes, I did. I'm not about myself, too. So it's not just others. It's me. I'm being truthful because I wanted the reader, I wanted the public to hear the truth. I embrace a love for the truth even when it involves myself. If you're going to negatively embellish events, I didn't do that. It's not a concern here. Don't mention private or embarrassing facts about others unless you can honestly say they are of legitimate public concern and essential to telling your story. That's what I did. I didn't embellish, and I didn't reveal any other facts other than I thought were important in telling the story. So before we go, I want to bring your attention to other books that have been censored. This is texmars.com. His book, Holy Serpent of the Jews, has been censored on March the 8th. Amazon removed his book. And here's what he said that Amazon says, and I'm just going to read the second part down here. This is what Amazon says. Amazon believes it is censorship not to sell certain titles because we believe their message is objectionable. Well, they don't believe that. They don't give the author, like myself, the benefit of the doubt, and they didn't give it apparently to Tex Mars. And there's one more I want to show you. This is Michael Hoffman on 3/8/17. That's just a couple days ago. Amazon bans World War II revisionist books. I'll let you come back here. This one book by Dr. Arthur Butts, I have it. It's called The Myth. This book that Amazon has banned is this book right here. And it's The Hoax of the 21st Century, the Case Against the Presumed Extermination of European Jewry. These are the kind of books that these Jewish owners of Amazon, and I'm going to assume Lulu.com, I don't know, but they don't want others to know the truth. And I'm not going to read this to you, but I'll put a link below if you're interested in the censorship that's taking place in the United States and basically the world through the online publishers like Lulu and Amazon. You might want to come back and read this. So let's end this up with, you're asking yourself, well, doesn't Amazon and Lulu and the rest of these online publishers have the right to not print your book if they don't want to? And I'm going to say no, because they've developed a monopoly. And I mentioned that in my previous video. I went into that at length, so I'm not going to go into it here. But if we allow Lulu and Amazon and other online publishers, let's say I go to another online publisher, not as well known as Amazon or Lulu, and what's going to stop them from saying, hey, your book's been censored twice already, Lulu and Amazon, we're not going to have it on our site either? Or the same person who made the allegations with Lulu and Amazon contact them and they remove the book anyway. So however they do it, the New York publishers are not going to publish it, and the online publishers, the self-publishers, are not going to allow this book and other books that I may write online and available. And these books have a public interest theme. And so if we allow this to happen, we're going to be allowing private firms to be the judge and the jury and we're not going to get the truth that authors like myself are willing to write about and to expose what's going on in the American court system, the American legal system. There is no rule of law in this country anymore, and that's basically what my book exposes in detail using court records. When I went overseas and I wrote my book, I took a whole stack of court papers with me, and so this is all almost word for word out of the court. Anyway, I do want to thank you for watching. Embrace the love of the truth. These people in control of our media are doing everything they possibly can, and those who are committing the wrongs are doing everything they can to prevent you from learning the truth. And we need to fight these people all the way, and I'm going to do just that. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing. We're at about 80%, and when we get to 1,000, like I mentioned, we got some other options, and I'm excited about what else we can do when we get there. May the grace of God our Father, the creator of the heavens and the earth, may his grace be with us all, for in these times we certainly need it. See you.